morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you to this month's Meet the Expert live event. I'm joined today by Mark Miller, our Head of Customer Advisory at Legerity. Hi, Mark. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very well. Good morning, everyone.
Great, great. So today we'll discuss a slightly different topic, SOX compliance. As the UK and other countries are putting in place their own SOX type processes, we have received several questions around that topic, and we wanted to discuss them here with you. So as a reminder, we ask you to either put your question in the comment section on LinkedIn, or you can drop us an email at info@legerityfinancials.com, and we'll do our very best to answer all your questions during the live session. If we can't, we'll make sure to come back to you after the fact. So let's start. First question is actually a little bit more for the wider audience. Can you just tell us a little bit what are the news for those who are new to SOX? What is it and who does it affect?
Yeah, well, SOX has been around for 20 years, as the title of this webinar suggests, and it was primarily for US companies. So it was brought, SOX. We use the word SOX, but actually it's Sarbanes-Oxley. Those were the people who were responsible for designing the regulation in the US, and there are a number of aspects to it, and it specifically refers to Section 404. So you do hear it called 404, SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley, those sorts of things. But that if you're going to comply with SOX, then you've probably done that a long time ago, and it affected US listed businesses. So anybody, obviously US companies and businesses, many UK European companies who had listings in the US for raising funds over there. So it's certainly not new. But what is new is, as you've sort of said, is that in the UK at least, they're looking to bring in SOX type regulation. So that's going to have a similar span, I expect. Definitely listed companies, but exactly who it will affect, but it will be quite wide ranging. And broadly, what we're concerned about within the regulation, the Section 404, is the approach on controls, and it's all about accountability to directors. So the directors of the business, you normally have to sign off their financial results, saying they're fair and they've been audited. But with the SOX regulations, they explicitly have to make statements about the control environment. And not just, okay, yeah, the controls are fine, but how did they do that? How did they go about ensuring that the control environment is strong and that all the relevant controls are working? So it creates a significant burden on the management, director level management of the company, because they're making effectively legally binding statements that there is a strong control environment in their business, and that they've done the work for themselves to be able to make that statement confidently and accurately to all relevant parties. So it's pretty significant in terms of the responsibilities that the directors have in terms of ensuring the companies are very well controlled.
Okay, very interesting. And so the next question is really what is a SOX project?
Yeah, so certainly, over the years, a lot of companies have gone through the pain of SOX. Just as a side note, I think a lot of people are saying that actually it's very beneficial. So there's been it was quite a burden to implement SOX originally, but I think the general consensus is it's actually been a good thing, which is why it's been done in the UK. So, a SOX project is all about your organisation preparing itself to meet these additional requirements that the regulation brings. So, it's going to be about analysing your control environment, assessing it, potentially improving it, and then ultimately documenting it, and not just in a static way. And I think this is important. It's about documenting the effectiveness of the controls on a continuous basis. So, obviously, it's all very well to design controls, lots of paper and words get written, but that's not really good enough, because you have to ensure those controls are working. So, the SOX project is not just about documenting the controls and analysing the controls and assessing the controls. It's then all about the process of maintaining those controls and evidencing that. Especially in a large organisation, the directors are obviously quite distant from all of the aspects on the ground. So we need a detailed cascading of all the minor controls across the organisation, how they cascade up. And that, importantly, that process for evidencing those controls and then reporting the effectiveness and evidencing process up to the directors. Because I think the important thing is the directors are signing off to say the control environment is strong, but they're also signing off to say how have they done that, and how has it been achieved. And obviously, they may need to be able to report remediation efforts if there are deficiencies, things that take longer to fix. So a SOX project is going to involve a significant effort across the organisation. And you do see substantial SOX teams built up in my experience of these projects. And it could well last, a number of months or even a year or two to effectively do it, depending on the complexity and size of the organisation. So it's a significant undertaking in itself. And then I think importantly for what we're really sort of focused on here in FastPost is it's a tangible exercise. So you're going to be looking carefully at the control environment, and that's going to have actual impacts on your organisation. You're going to need to potentially change processes and reorganise the way that you do things. So it's not just a paper exercise; it will have significant impacts. And certainly I've heard advisory firms thinking of it as a sort of precursor to transformation. So if you're not already doing transformation in your processes, or maybe you felt like transformation was due but you haven't got round to it, then certainly this is a major catalyst for transformation. And certainly I think the lessons from the US is that countries or companies that linked SOX with transformation or doing transformation already fared a lot better than those who considered it more of a tick boxing exercise.
Yeah, no, definitely, and as you said, it's still an important project. I think PwC was estimating 18 months for to plan an 18 months project for SOX compliance, and in the UK it's coming within 2 years. Things are getting quite heated. You spoke about putting more control, and if we think about the finance department, who still relies heavily on spreadsheets, how all of that will affect those people who rely on this kind of documents?
Yeah, no, good question. So, let's be honest, spreadsheets are a great tool. In finance, we all use them. They're part of our daily lives. So we're not going to knock spreadsheets. I think they are important, but when we're looking at processes involving major controls, so controls over reported numbers and controls over the cash and finances and sales and marketing activities of the business, spreadsheets do have some weaknesses, and we've seen some very high-profile cases where spreadsheets are falling short. And one of the most difficult issues with spreadsheets is the ease at which you can make errors. So they're very flexible, but it's not too difficult to have a cell formula linking to the wrong place, or someone to manually type in a number. So that's a big problem with spreadsheets. And in a documented control environment, those sort of weaknesses will come up very quickly. And I think the other real issue with spreadsheets is auditability and transparency. So it's not difficult to make changes in a spreadsheet, and it's usual that those changes can sort of go unnoticed or unmonitored. So again, when you're thinking about your control environment, that's going to be a weakness. And I suppose the last point, I could make many points about spreadsheets, but not to go on for too long. I think, when we look at the way that the control environment is thought about, there's definitely a sort of distinction. You have your finance controls, but then you also consider your IT controls. And certainly spreadsheets generally rely or sit outside the IT area of responsibility. So that again is quite an issue in terms of the strength of your control processes, that all the control frameworks that IT would build around the proper application aren't there for spreadsheets. So obviously if there's a major like COVID or other disasters, where systems are going down and things like that, then IT aren't really able to help with processes that rely on spreadsheets. So yeah, so I think let's not pretend we're going to replace spreadsheets completely, but certainly thinking about preparing for SOX, then if you have a heavy reliance on spreadsheets, that's a bit of a red flag probably for you.
Yeah, and that's actually bringing it to next question of why technology is relevant. We're speaking about the project, how it's an important project. Now we spoke about the reliance on spreadsheet, which might be an issue. So if we go one step further, why technology in a SOX? Why thinking about technology when doing a SOX project?
Yeah, so technology is highly relevant. Well, firstly, if we're going to look to automate and improve efficiencies, you're not thinking about necessarily direct control benefits, but from a business case perspective, you definitely want to be looking at automation, eliminating manual processes and reducing costs. And I would say SOX as a trigger for transformation, that's one of the big benefits that people have seen, is that they have invested in back office processes and been able to deliver cost savings and improvements in automation and quality of information. So that's definitely true, and technology is a key enabler in doing that. We just talked about spreadsheets, so systemizing processes that were sitting in spreadsheets, eliminating siloed data sets, things like that. That'll be very important to build into your sort of control framework. So I think technology is highly relevant. How can you incorporate technology? I think that's where, by looking at the processes, seeing where things are manual, seeing where there's a lack of automation, and then making a review on how technology can be used. And we use the word technology loosely, I suppose, in this question, but definitely, we're not just talking about spreadsheets.
I think there is a small issue with the sound system.
Okay.
Maybe you have lost your sound system.
Right. Yeah, I haven't, but maybe Mike has. Oh,
let's continue.
It's being recorded, so we'll just continue. Yeah. So I think certainly thinking of SOX as a transformational project. I think looking at technology, and given the timescales sometimes to implement technology, that is something you need to be thinking about now. So preparing for your SOX project with a review of technology and how it's incorporated, then I think that is really important.
Yeah, perfect. And so thank you, and that's very, very interesting. And we often speak about the importance of technology, being a technology vendor. So it's interesting to see the link between the two. And it's true that if you think about the finance transformation, it's actually finance transformation needs the right technology environment in order to do all of that. So it depends on how people approach SOX and this kind of new regulation, if they want to use this as a trigger to do more. And so now, if we get really back into the SOX topic, and what is a SOX compliance checklist? Do we have anything that people can look at when thinking about the checklist for SOX?
Yeah, so it's certainly not one size fits all or one approach for everybody. But a big SOX being old, we don't exactly know what the requirements are, but there's certainly a lot of material out there on what are effective controls and approaches. There's many consultants, advisory firms who'd be very willing to help you. Certainly, as a technology company, obviously, I would say within the compliance checklist, you would be looking at your IT controls, processes that sit within that, automation, segregation of duties, reconciliations. Those are important. They will be important on the compliance checklist. So your compliance checklist, I suppose, is part of the delivery of the SOX project itself, because that's what the directors want to see. They want to see there's a checklist of how they're going to comply, and then supporting that evidence, and then evidence not just of the actual item, but the checking of that, and then the evidence of that continuing. So certainly, I would say compliance checklist is going to be important. What would we look at? So we would look at automation. We would look at the IT controls, and I think from a technology perspective, part of the compliance checklist should really look at modern technology. We've seen with COVID, legacy platforms don't support remote working as well, and obviously when things are going wrong with climate change or other issues, political issues or whatever, then companies need to be able to respond to that, and that will form part of the compliance checklist. So being able to handle unusual circumstances and disasters, and maintain operations, maintain finance processes, that will form part of the compliance checklist, and that is an important thing to consider. So linking back to the question, technology is important to enable that as well.
Okay, great. And maybe one last question for those people who are just wondering how to start. What would be for you a good first step for business to get ready with SOX?
Yeah, so I mean, don't imagine that you can just pass this over to the finance team and they'll all sort it out. What my observation from seeing these programs is they affect the whole organization, because everybody is doing things that effectively need some evidence of control. You're buying things, selling things, making things, enabling things. You're all part of the activities of the company, and it will be necessary to make sure the control environment around those activities is strong and evident. So it's going to affect everybody. So there's definitely a need to get the whole business ready. So that's about the internal communications and preparedness for this. But thinking that you may well find issues with the control environment, there's certainly room for the smaller SOX team to be doing some initial reviews of the overall control environment that you have in your audit reports and things like that. Will have looked at some of these things before. So, as I've said, the successful companies, the ones that made the best out of SOX, were the ones that linked it with transformation. So I think a good first step is to definitely think about your current programs that you have. Should you be doing more in the transformation space? Whilst you have this SOX goal that will be very visible at board level, this is the time to think about investments and business cases in improving automation and implementing technology. So I would say the key things as a first step is the internal comms. This is not going to go away, and it's an important program that will affect everybody, so getting that out there. And then secondly, getting ready to invest in the back office and potentially accelerate or maybe implement new transformation programs to make necessary improvements in the control environment.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. I think those were amazing insights. And that's actually bring us to the end of Today Meets the Expert session. So Mark, a big thank you for all your insights. Maybe do you have any concluding thoughts for our viewers that you want to share with them?
Yeah, maybe just to say, as a vendor of technology, one of the things that we offer is the ability to wrap up, finance or user-managed processes inside a secure, heavily transparent, audited, controlled environment that would sit within the IT stack. So, there are many use cases for powerful accounting rules and posting engine like ours. And so please come and talk to us when you're looking at your controls and you're thinking of delivering some transformation, and we can do this in a very modular way. We can look at individual processes, and we have a variety of tools at our disposal to help you implement that in a cost-effective way. So please, when you're looking at SOX, think of us and come and talk to us. We'll be pleased to help.
Great, thanks. You're stealing my sales pitch here. So now maybe just to finish a small quick word about Legerity to put some color to what you just said. Yes, FastPost, Legerity FastPost is our next generation accounting rules platform. It's really designed to develop for large volume of complicated data and processes. It's a cloud-native, ultra-high-speed performance built with the latest open source technology. And what it really enable you to do is to tackle and control the weaknesses in your back office and processes while automating all of them in a very efficient way. If you have any questions about how you can improve your back office from a finance perspective and accounting processes, we'll be very happy to have this conversation with you. As Mark said, don't hesitate to contact us on our website. And we also wanted to inform you that we've released a report on our resource page, which is the importance of SOX 20 years on. And we really encourage you to have a look and download this report, read through it, and contact us if you have any question. Finally, as you know, we're sharing a lot of content on LinkedIn and other media, so we invite you to follow up to make sure that you stay up to date with our future events, webinars, and other related content. On that note, I want to say a big thank you again to Mark and wish you all a very good rest of the week. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
FastPost is the next generation accounting rules platform. Cloud native, ultra high performance, developed using the latest open source technologies for large volumes of complicated data and processes. Finance departments are under pressure. Legacy systems are creaking, inefficient, and error-prone. Forward-looking CFOs are driving change. Finance today is more than just accounting. Multiple stakeholders, clients, regulatory challenges, and the new digital world need a single version of the truth. Granular, accounting-validated data on demand. FastPost is modular, fully integrated with open interfaces and APIs, and the ability for user-defined business rules. Setting the standard for the next generation of accounting rules and subledger technology. We shorten processing time from days or hours to minutes. Offered both as a software and platform as a service, providing flexible and rapid deployment options to match your business needs. FastPost. Finance with confidence. Legerity. It's our business to take care of yours.